Hello gamers, this is Tube Antics. We're back with another update video. BetterTOS has just received a new patch and it's massive. We have a lot of changes. We have one new role, 5 role reworks. In this video, we're gonna go over all the changes in the BetterTOS2 1.8 major updates. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Before I get into the changes, I want to make one thing clear. Any and all BetterTOS2 changes are experimental and are subject to change. It's way easier to revert or tweak something that didn't work the way we wanted to, compared to vanilla, such as, for example, the Monarch vote immunity stuff didn't work out in vanilla and we had to revert it in the next season. That did not go so well. However, in modded, it's easier to revert or tweak something compared to vanilla. Therefore, if a change doesn't perform well, we will easily change it, no worries. So if you don't like a change, please give constructive feedback rather than lashing out at devs. This has been happening so many times in recent updates, so please. I would appreciate constructive feedback over stuff like, oh, update sucks, with zero feedback, Anyways, general changes.
2,000 years later.
Socialite has been added to BetterTOS2. I know hearing the word Socialite in a BetterTOS2 related video might sound odd to you, yes, but if you don't know, Socialite was never added to BetterTOS because when BetterTOS launched, Socialite was the old Socialite that blocked night chat, and that was too unhealthy for the game, so we decided to not add it to BetterTOS2 that time. But right now, Vanilla Socialite is pretty much the current BetterTOS2 Crusader, and we are reworking Crusader in BetterTOS2, so Socialite, it's pretty safe to bring the role back after pretty much 3 seasons, so real. This also does mean that the confirmed Crusader in some of the TT lists are gonna be replaced with Socialite, just like the vanilla TT list and casual. We'll get to the Crusader rework in balance changes, so stay tuned. Cursed Soul faction renamed to Wandering Souls. This is pretty much a consistency change with what happened in Season 5. It's a minor detail but still a consistency change to catch up with vanilla. Casual queue lobby has an indicator of how many players are in the queue, like the old queue lobby pre-season 5. I think this matters a lot because, for example, 15 people join casual queue, start a game, then the 16th player joins the queue, they only see themselves in the lobby and think it's dead, but it's not. In truth, the 15 players are actually in-game, but without doing exclamation mark online, there's no way to see that, so they just end up leaving. So hopefully this should be a way to see that people are actually playing in terms of QL. Dreamweaver UI improvements. I am aware the Dreamweaver UI has been jank. I did some improvements to fix all this. So as you can see, now you have to click the message, then it will preview it in the chat before sending it to someone. Then you click to a player in the UI on the right. There's no need to click the confirm button anymore, which means one less button to click. Which means the UI should overall be easier to use compared to before. I know people had no idea how to use the UI. So pretty much having to click one less button is a big change. And now it does preview what message you're sending to your target. So it's a pretty big deal in terms of making the UI easier to use. I hope this works out for the Dreamweaver UI. Anyways, we have a new modder role with this patch. I think the last new role that was added to BetterTOS2 was Warlock, which it's been a really long time a new role was added to BetterTOS. It's been really long. The new role is the infamous third town government role. As you most of know, TPAL bucket was removed in the 1.7 update and was split into 2, town executive and town government. And town government pretty much was a glorified dual bucket of mayor and monarch. This update adds the third town government role, which is the Pacifist. So the Pacifist's ability is to guess all alive town members in the game. Once that is done, there will be a protest phase the next day instead of voting. And that phase works like ballot voting, like Among Us voting. Only the Pacifist and their enemies can vote in a protest, and votes are anonymous during a protest. At the end of 20 seconds, the player that has the most votes will be executed. And if the Pacifist is still alive after this vote, their team will win the game. If the Pacifist is killed in a protest, the game is going back to regular trial phase. The Pacifist also has the ability to self-reflect. This is to prevent getting screwed by evil abilities such as Judge, PM, Witch, Baker. They can choose a town role to appear as any revealing ability. Another thing to note is town government is still capped to 2 per game. So this means not all Mayor, Monarch and Pacifist can spawn in one game. There can be only 2 of them in one game. What's the point of this role? So it's a fake claimable TPAV type of role. And it's an alt win con, so it technically doesn't grant any extra kills. Pretty much town government is the bucket with 3 roles now. It's no longer a glorified dual bucket. And I think like this was being expected by a lot of players anyway. So like I know like this role might have some issues, but as I said in the beginning of this video, if the role turns out to be oppressive, I already have changes in mind, and like we're going to tweak the role accordingly. Moving on to the balance changes and role reworks. So we're starting with Seer. We are reworking Seer again. You guys know it was already reworked in BetterTOS2 1.7. However, I don't think this rework was successful. For various reasons, such as the game has been moving to a faction-based state. What I mean by faction-based state is, since the Cursed Soul and Vampire reworks got added into vanilla, there are more roles in games that do not belong to their original factions. And this Seer rework chooses buckets to find, and like it failed to account for those, while old Seer's factional check did that perfectly. And it was weird to have Death and Cultist in the Seer UI. Why Cultist? Because Coven Outlier bucket doesn't exist, and I don't think adding a whole role bucket for a single role rework is a good idea. Like it was its own thing. There was Death in the Seer UI, there was Cultist in the Seer UI. It overall just felt like a weird amalgamation that is like being bandaged together. Evidently by it being weak in certain lists and stronger in some lists. Therefore, I don't think this rework fits vanilla, so we're gonna try something else. So this new rework is a variation of the old Seer with one exception. So the results you will get are not friends and enemies, but high energy or low energy. One of them means friends, the other one means enemies, but you will not know which one means which from the start. And you will have to solve it as the game goes. Different Seers can have different energies for friends and enemies, which means not every Seer will see high energy as enemies. This is pretty much a puzzle TI that doesn't immediately get a 1-for-1 day 2. So it is pretty much a nerfed version of old Seer. This might sound too complicated, I agree, but I wanted to see in game before making a judgment. And I'm aware of the one night Seer where Intuit and Gaze are split into a night, but that would just be a better sheriff, wouldn't it? So I didn't want to try that. So our next change, Berserker. I mean, Berserker could always kill after night 1 regardless in BetterTOS2. However, this change is based off vanilla, because vanilla Berserker still has the issue of, for example, if you fail your night 2 kill by hitting a non-obstacle, saved by TPs, or getting roll blocked, you can attack night 3, which is a big problem, because like it hard screws the roll. So to fix that, we made Berserker be able to attack every night, but in return of that, your first attack is basic. The first power-up is not the ability to attack every night, but an upgrade to powerful attack instead. Like, this is a very minor change in modded. However, the rework is intended for vanilla, so it doesn't hurt to test it in modded first, in my opinion. Anyways, our next change is Crusader. Crusader has been a problem role in vanilla because Town Jinx, I don't think it has worked and it hurts Town more than Evils. Crusader, like in your games, you have seen Crusader kill Town more than Evil, I'm pretty sure of that. In modded, we made it a bouncer role, its current Socialite in vanilla. Pretty much because of this. However, it overlapped with Socialite now. And Socialite as a result was never added to modded because Crusader does the same thing. And I do think Crusader worked fine in modded, however, our balance changes are done according to vanilla. And like, you know, eventually we would have to find something for Crusader. So we're gonna test this rework in modded and bring back Socialite. This rework is based off Handler from BetterTOS1. If you don't know how Handler worked, Handler saved direct attacks only and got the attacker sent. And if you saved someone from the same attacker or directly visited the attacker, you would recognize their scent and know who they are. This Crusader rework, if you save someone, you will block one direct attack like Bodyguard or Trapper, and you will wound all direct attackers. If you save someone from an already wounded attacker by you will deal a basic attack to them. If you visit a player you already have wounded, instead of fortifying, you will deal a basic attack to them. And you don't attack players wounded by other Crusaders. This Crusader only kills Town if the Town is shrouded or it's a Vigilante. From my experience, BetterTOS1 Handler's Sand mechanic didn't trigger as much as like current Crusader kills, which means less Cruz kills compared to vanilla. I'm looking forward to how this rework will play out in games. It might work, it might not work, but like as I said, the entire point of BetterTOS2 is to test reworks. As I mentioned earlier, with Crusader being reworked to this, Socialite is added, taking over the old Crusader kit alongside guest list. Our next change is Coroner. So at this point, everyone knows after getting changed 4 times, Coroner is still considered weak. And with the addition of Grace Period, That did take a hit on Coroner for those lists which have the modifier on them. So we're going to test a buff to Coroner here. Coroner can now examine any knight, and you will add your targets to their suspect list. You will learn if any of your suspects is a killer for each autopsy you have, and you can see the, how the rework works in this image. I think this is a decent buff. Coroner gets to do something at least, even before there's no one dead. So, I think that's the major point of this buff. Nothing much to be spoken here. Our next change, Illusionist. Some of you already know Illusionist got the Mass Hysteria ability a while ago in BetterTOS2, which never made it to vanilla, but it was an ability that inverted all TI results for one night. However, I don't think Mass Hysteria worked out, or it will be decent for vanilla, because the ability helping out depends if certain TI roles are in play. It can be really confusing for vanilla players, which is something we don't want. My main reason why Hysteria is getting removed is that it relies on TIs being played, certain TIs being in play. For example, if TIs are Spy and Coroner, Hysteria does nothing. So, I don't think Hysteria would fit vanilla, therefore we decided to scrap that idea entirely. So our rework, we have a certain interaction changes. So, Illusion teammates no longer ignore bodyguards and trappers. I believe this was a shitty interaction. Felt too arbitrary to just hard counter 2 TP rolls for no reason. Astral visits, ignoring them is fine, but Illusion doesn't give people astral visits. So it kind of felt arbitrary to me. Illusions no longer affect deputy shots. This was another interaction that was not liked by players. Missing Good and Evil just because they were illusions was not fun to play as. I think same interaction only exists with CL right now, but that's because CL has defense. That's an entirely different story, and it's not the topic of current discussion. So in replacement of Mass Hysteria, Illusionist has gained 2 new abilities. One of them is Facade. You can choose any role to appear as upon death. This is pretty much Old Disguiser, but you can choose what role you show as upon death, regardless of day and night. And this is stronger than Old Disguiser, because Old Disguiser in 10 of Salem 1 visited someone to appear as them, and you didn't know the role of the person you visited. But right now, here, you can plan your fake claim. You can choose the role you will appear as. You can, this opens up for a lot of plays, and role flips are never 100% confirmed now because of Illusionist potentially existing. So this is a pretty big deal in my opinion, but I think Illusionist deserves this kind of buff because the role right now is very boring to play as, and Mass Hysteria was very swingy and it was depending on TIs. The other ability is Phantasm. It's pretty much simple, illusion your entire team for one night. So that's all of the changes for this update. I hope you enjoy it. BetterTOS2 Casual Queue will have double TP for one day, starting tonight. So, today's not a stream day, but I might be in the casual queue, and I will see you guys there if you are playing. So, thank you for watching. I will see you guys next video. Take care.